For as long as I can remember, I've always been a big fan of energy drinks, but maybe surprisingly, it's not even for the caffeine. I just like the weird chemical taste that they have, and for some reason, I've always liked Red Bull the most. My only issue is that I think I'm a bit sensitive to CraC, and if I ever have one later than like 4 p.m., it makes it almost impossible. So as for years, I've wanted them to make a caffeine-free Red Bull that I'd be able to drink at night. I never really did anything to make this happen. I honestly didn't think they'd ever respond. Siwi says, I was very surprised that they actually got back to me in less than 24 hours, but I was very surprised that they completely rejected my idea. Now, knowing that they weren't going to help me at all, I had no choice but to somehow do it myself. The only issue though, and the main reason why I didn't try doing this years ago, is that it might actually be impossible. Before I could get started though, I also had to look at the ingredients list on the can. I had to check the salt of each ingredient and to see if any of them would dissolve in ice. From all the named ingredients, I was happy to see that caffeine was apparently the only one. However, I was a bit spooked out by the artificial flavors and colors because it was very possible for those to pull out along with CraC caffeine. The color didn't really matter, but the flavor was definitely an issue. And unfortunately, there was no way for me to find out exactly what these artificial flavors were. So, just like with the PP, I kind of just had to try it out and see what happened. To get this all started, I got a couple cans of Red Bull and I emptied them into a dish. Then after that, I put it into a food desiccator that's normally meant to dry things like fruits and vegetables. What I was trying to do here was get rid of most of the water to reduce the scale that I had to work on. This would just make things easier in general, and it would let me use less solvent for the extraction. At the same time, it would also get rid of all the carbonation, which would have made the extraction absolutely impossible. What I had to do now was taste it to make sure that leaving it overnight in open air hadn't messed up the flavor. Just taste this. Concentrated Red Bull. Okay, so it seemed to be fine, and I could now move on to the extraction part. To do this, I first poured it all into a berkey to see how much I had. It was apparently only 100 mils, which meant that I had gotten rid of 400 mils of water. I'm not sure how much water was left, but I can't imagine there was very much. I then poured all of this into a separatory funnel, and on top of it, I added 30 mils of DCM. The DCM had a much higher density, and it also couldn't mix into the syrup, so almost all of it just quickly sank to the bottom. The idea here was that the caffeine, and hopefully nothing else, was much more soluble in the DCM. This would cause the DCM to prefer being in the DCM, and it should slowly get pulled from the DCM. But just letting it sit like this wouldn't work very well, because the two liquids are barely touching. To have an efficient extraction, I had to maximize the surface area between the two, and this is usually done by just ***ing it. So I sealed the funnel with a stopper, took it off the stand, and I really tried to mix them together. When I felt that I had done a decent job,